Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Update: I kicked out my little sister out of my home because she's been trying to seduce my husband. Original post: my 30 female, sister 20 female, has started college in the city my husband, 28 male, and I live in. There's a housing shortage here and getting your own place may take 2 to 3 years sometimes, so she moved in with us. We live in a 4-bedroom apartment. She moved in last week in November. Everything was great at first, but later I started noticing that she's very affectionate with my husband. When he works from home, she is home that day, making him sandwiches, coffee, and other things. She never uses the shower in her room because she says it's too small. Instead, she uses bigger one in the hall so she can walk around in a towel, sometimes going into the kitchen to make tea when my husband is tidying up after dinner. She stands there in the towel chit-chatting. It feels so weird and perverted, to be honest. I mean, she's my baby sister. I thought maybe I'm overreacting because I seem to be the only one noticing anything weird. I have spoken to my mom about it, but she says it's in my head because my husband loves me and my sister loves me, and I'm just feeling insecure because I'm pregnant and have gained weight. I'm having a difficult pregnancy, so yesterday I took a day off and stayed in bed. My husband was working from home, but my sister didn't know I was home. She came home from the gym and she had bought lunch with her. She called for my husband to join her, and I heard her loudly saying, "I bet you wish you had a wife who took care of you like this." I went to the kitchen and she was in her sports bra and very small tight shorts. She was like, "Oh, I didn't know you're here," and she took her lunch and went to her room. I don't know what to do about this situation. I have mentioned this once to her about her walking around in a towel, but she laughed it off saying that I was imagining things because I'm insecure. If I kicked her out, it would mean that she can't continue with her studies this year because my parents live 5 hours away. I'm not worried about my husband, but I think what she's doing is disrespectful. And for it to continue for 1, maybe 2 years, is honestly exhausting. What is wrong with her? She used to be my baby girl. Now for the top advice before reading the update. She must have said other inappropriate things when you weren't around. Has your husband said anything about her behavior? Agreed. This cannot be the first time. And if so, why hasn't he mentioned this? There was a similar story on here a while back. In that story, the best friend of the husband's little sister was flirting with the OP's husband. That OP didn't dare to say something, because hubby always babied or defended sis. Later came out that hubby didn't say anything, because due to overworking he first didn't notice, then after, didn't want to unnecessarily worry his also at the time pregnant wife. One simple talk later, they found out they are on the same page. However, the husband started that talk because he became too uncomfortable. That's what those young and attractive girls often don't understand. The decent guys don't enjoy the attention. They do choose their, pregnant or not, old wives. OP, here's my advice. Talk to your husband. He might be as uncomfortable as you. Furthermore, your sister might not believe your jealous words, but coming from your husband, it will have an impact. Sure, she will believe that it's you speaking through him because of the aforementioned point. But you have to be a united front, especially with a baby on the way. And if your sister loses housing for a year, well, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. She should think of consequences before angering off the people providing her with a roof over her head. I was prepared to say this could just be paranoia until I read the "didn't know you were home" incident. That was as clear a come on as can be. Out she goes. Yep, agreed. As soon as she's starting chatting about "bet you wish you had a wife like this" stuff, she gone. I'm curious what the husband's response to a comment like that was. And unless this is the first time she's been so verbally overt, why on earth is telling his wife not his reaction to her sister saying something like this? What your sister is doing is beyond disrespectful and gross. She's literally trying to take your man when you open the doors of your home to her. I would sit her down and straight out ask her what is going on with her. If she tries to blow you off, tell her again very seriously, and in a stern voice that you want to talk to her and you know exactly what she's doing. Tell her it makes you and your husband uncomfortable. Don't be scared to make her a little uncomfortable and throw all the weird and disrespectful things she's been doing in her face. She has to acknowledge first that she's being inappropriate. If that doesn't work, have both your husband and you talk to her. Either way, she needs to get it through her head that it isn't okay. Husband needs to be loud and vocal about his displeasure in having little sis walk around in a towel or leave every time she tries to engage in conversation with him. He needs to start treating her like a bother as well. If not, she's just going to keep viewing it as encouragement or a challenge. Something in your baby sister's head switched and made her view you as competition. If she keeps acting that way, kick her out. Why live with someone that is actively trying to sabotage you? That's no sister. Now for the update. Since my mother and sister dismissed me, I talked to my husband. Thank you for suggesting that. He told me that he has noticed my sister acting weird around him. He was, however, very uncomfortable talking to me about it, since it was my idea that she should live with us. I might think he's making things up to kick my sister out. He said the days he's been working from home, she's been almost always home, walking around in her underwear or tiny gym wearing. He asked her on a number of occasions to put some more clothes on. She laughed and asked if he's not used to being around confident women. She also always talked me down in front of him and commented things like my bad posture or my old age, or I wonder if she will be able to lose her baby weight. I was appalled. What the heck is wrong with my sister? I have never had problems with her, and I always took care of her growing up. So I decided that she must leave. I have been trying to find a place for her in the city, and I know one of my colleagues' grandmother rents rooms for students. She lives near campus, so it would be perfect for her. I didn't want to break the news myself to her, because by now I know what she would say, that I am so jealous and threatened by her. So I asked my husband to talk to her. Apparently, she broke down crying, asking him if I put him up to this. He told her that this was his apartment as much as it's mine, and he's not comfortable having her around. He told her about the new arrangement we've made, but if she didn't like it, she was welcome to find a place on her own or move back home. She's getting until the end of the month. Today she was so angry with me. She told me that if my husband really loved me, I wouldn't have felt so threatened by her. She was also mad because now she'll have to pay rent and live in a smaller room. I don't know. I feel sorry for her, but I'm honestly shocked at how callous she is. When did this happen? Only yesterday she was my baby who waited for me to come home on holidays to try my new clothes and makeup. Now she's shut in her room, only speaking to me to call me pathetic and insecure. I'm so miserable right now. It needed to be done. She was inappropriate and taking advantage of the situation. Parading around scantily dressed and making comments against you to your husband caused this, not you or hubby. She can cry all she wants, she brought this on herself. Don't let her talk to you like that. Remind her it is your home and your husband. You tried to help her out and she crossed a line trying to seduce your husband. He wasn't interested and she needs to move. You are not jealous or insecure. She is a witch thinking what she did is okay. She has grown into a person no one will want in their home. Her actions demand a response and she got hers. Good for you and hubby. I think it's really worth drilling into her that the husband is fully on board with all of this. He's not attracted to her physically or emotionally. She's not tempting anyone, she's just embarrassing herself. Maybe that'll be the kick in the pants she needs. It was cute when she wanted to try on your clothing and wear your makeup. Now she wants to put on your life and wear it like a skin suit. Don't feel bad for her. She needs to grow up and find her own identity. Yeah, I saw the line about wanting to try on OP's clothes and makeup, and was wondering, maybe she's always looked up to OP and wanted to be like her, and now it's crossed into a territory where she's literally trying to become OP. Maybe she sees OP's husband as OP's possession, something for her to try on whenever she sees fit, just like the clothes and makeup. I don't know, sis is too used to sharing, but this isn't a sister-wives situation. Well done for presenting a united front and doing what needed to be done. She's lucky to be getting till the end of the month with the way she's behaving and has behaved. I would have sent her home until she could move. Her education is not your problem, and if she missed uni for 3 weeks, so be it. Better than calling you pathetic whilst living in your home, for free. She sounds completely unhinged, and I'd be worried she might make false claims against your husband, or you. She doesn't seem above getting petty revenge. You should really reconsider having her in your home. She's not the baby sister you knew and loved. If you're determined to house her, I would impose strict house rules. No going into your husband's office. No parading around in clothing that makes you and your husband uncomfortable. No mean ugly comments. And if she breaks the rules, you can have your mother lock her up. Now for the last story. My fiance's sister is overstepping boundaries and it makes me uncomfortable. Plus update. Original post. My female 24 fiance's male 25 sister female 22 is overstepping boundaries with my fiance. We are due to get married in a few months, and in the past I noticed she was too close to my fiance. But now that our wedding is around the corner, it has ramped up. Here are some examples where I feel like she's acting strange and overstepped boundaries. 1. She stays over at my fiance's place and stays over extra nights, knowing that we have plans and he has work. 2. When we visit her, they are glued together. They solely sit with each other while I am sat opposite them. It's like I'm third-wheeling a date. And my fiancé ignores me the whole time. He only talks to her. I just feel so uncomfortable. I always take pictures of them together like I'm a photographer. She's constantly touching him too. 3. My fiancé drinks alcohol responsibly, and when his sister found out about him drinking, she was incredibly upset and demanded that he has to tell her every time he drinks. I found this incredibly odd. He's a grown man and he drinks occasionally. He doesn't need to answer to anyone about this. 4. The final straw was today. My fiancé got a text from her, and the notification came up on his laptop as we were watching Netflix, and it said, "I've been thinking about you all day." A second notification came up saying, "We should plan a little weekend getaway, and I can't wait to see you." I'm close to all my siblings, but I would never text my brothers, "I've been thinking about you all day." I don't know if this is normal or strange. My fiancé found it a little weird too, and said he's going to keep an eye on it and the things she says. I'm not sure if it's all in my head, but how do I go about approaching the situation? Any advice is appreciated. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Are you sure they are related? Yep, same mom and dad. They look very similar too. You need to set some boundaries pronto. Tell the partner he needs to let her know to give him space, so you and he can enjoy the occasion and life together afterwards. But it's not just weird things. It seems like she's oddly attached to him way more than you're comfortable with. You shouldn't feel like a third wheel. Yep, I'm starting to think I should be more assertive and sit with him before she does. Touch him like she does, and watch how she reacts. Is she gonna flip her lid because I sit next to my fiancé? Handful of curiosities here. 1. What is their or sister's relationship with their dad? Has he held a parentified role in her life? 2. Do either of them think this is a normal relationship based on their culture? 3. I'd explore the alcohol piece more. If their father is an alcoholic, this might be a linchpin piece for the sister who may have some past trauma related to their father's addiction. None of these are excuses, nor is this behavior appropriate or normal, but curiosity and a genuine attempt to understand might get you more movement with your fiancé if you are interested in addressing what the root might be. If you're not, and you want to get the heck out, do so. I have been trying to end a very similar marriage, and it's cost me over 5 figures and counting. 1. Their dad is awful. He comes home drunk and swears or shouts at her, he intimidates her and more. He is rude to my fiancé too, and they have a very bad relationship with him. But he is the man of the house and they still respect him, even though my fiancé has moved out and is completely financially independent. 2. They both think this is totally normal. Until today when I told my fiancé those messages were freaking strange, and he admitted it was a little weird and he would keep an eye out if she said anything else. I asked if she's said weird things like this before, and he said no. I don't know if I believe that. 3. Possibly, but if she was worried about his drinking, why not explain that and offer some advice on how to drink responsibly as he already does? Why demand to know every time he has a drink? In regards to 3, some people will never engage in self-awareness that would require them to take accountability for their actions or thoughts. If they were raised by an alcoholic, chances are this is what was modeled for both of them daily. I'm a recovering alcoholic, almost 3 years sober. My ex-husband has this type of relationship with his sister. She was in her teens when we met, so I wasn't able to pick up on the depth of the codependency amongst a myriad of other unhealthy trauma bonds. There's always a root. They probably either don't realize it or aren't willing to address it. If you think your fiancé is interested and willing to do the work, fabulous. Alcoholic Anonymous might be a place to start. The impacts of being raised by an alcoholic are devastating. It was what got me sober. I saw what it was doing to my kids, and it's one thing to screw up my life. It's a whole other thing to mess up your kids. Good luck. And now for the update. So, I did not expect so many replies on that post. Thank you all for the great advice. I spoke to my fiancé today, but before I did, when he went out to grab some food, I went on his laptop and onto WhatsApp web and took pictures of his conversation with his sister. I know this is wrong, but just in case, I wanted evidence and see if there was anything weird before I confronted him, so he couldn't delete later. There was other odd stuff like, "It's me and you against the world," but nothing too intimate. When he returned, I sat him down and said that I needed to discuss something serious that was making me uncomfortable, and he replied, "It's my sister, isn't it?" And I said yes. I think he knew this was on my mind since I saw the text yesterday. I explained every point that is making me concerned. I listed them all, and there was even stuff I didn't put in the previous post that is highly questionable. He listened and admitted it was strange, and that she has overstepped boundaries. I explained that if he doesn't set boundaries and put me first, I will leave. I don't want to, but I won't have a choice. He asked, "You don't think anything intimate is going on, do you?" I hesitated and he got pretty mad. He told me if I really thought that, I can pack my stuff and leave. I would like to point out, I actually do not think anything like that is happening. I just think she idolizes her big brother and maybe has a small crush, and it is causing her to overstep boundaries, and my fiancé just isn't putting a stop to her behavior to not upset her. I know she struggles with anxiety and is getting help, and he is not the confronting type. He handed me his phone and told me to check the messages myself. I didn't need to check because I already did when he went food shopping, and I realized that although their messages are very close, her way more than him, there is nothing too intimate whatsoever. So I believe him there. That being said, my points were valid and I told him the boundaries I want set. For one, no more sleepovers. He agreed to this. I also said if she says anything weird, I want to know about it, and I want him to shut her down and tell her that's not okay. He said if this happens, he is willing to distance himself from her and will put me first. When she returns to the UK, him and I are going to see her together, and I'd like to do the visits together for now. I got what I wanted. Although he has allowed a lot of her behavior, I know she hasn't had it easy. With her dad being an alcoholic, her anxiety, she has self-esteem issues and so on. I truly believe my fiancé just didn't want to rock the boat and isolate her further, so tried to focus on her as much as possible, and in the process ignored me. This is not okay, so I've told him those boundaries need to be set, or he knows I'm gone. Thank you all for the help. Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Final update, Terminated, and company says I can't sue. New York. Original post. I held a management position at a company. I asked a non-management female employee to step into another room to discuss her performance away from other employees. She was going through a divorce and had made a few mistakes, and while I didn't want to embarrass her, I did want to make sure the mistakes were addressed. She acknowledged it and thanked me. An hour later, I was escorted from my office by security and was informed by my boss that a harassment complaint had been made and proper protocol was to suspend me. I asked what it was and was told, we need to investigate. I can't disclose that. He assured me that it shouldn't take long, and if I wasn't guilty of anything, I'd be paid for the time out. I again asked what the accusation was and was told that, as there was an ongoing investigation, I was not permitted to know, but if they had questions, I would be contacted. I wasn't happy, but knowing that I didn't do anything wrong, I left the building. Later that night, I received a notification on my phone that my email password was incorrect. After 2 days, I called my boss asking for an update and was told he was not available but I would hear something soon. I began calling daily and received the same response. Finally, I received a letter in the mail informing me that I was terminated for exposing myself and requesting intimate favors from an employee. The employee listed was the young lady I had pulled into the side room. I immediately called up my boss and was told he is unavailable and said to say the matter is closed. My buddy, the IT guy, messaged me on Facebook asking what happened, as he'd been told to deactivate my accounts. When I told him the whole story, he replied, "You took her into the X room. Dude, there's a security camera in there. We keep Y in there, so we always have the camera on." Sure enough, he pulls the footage and there I am, holding a pile of papers, pointing to them, and keeping my pants on the whole time. I left a message for my boss that the alleged incident occurred in a room with surveillance, and that I would be contacting an attorney and subpoenaing the video record. I received a call back 15 minutes later asking me to please participate in a phone conference with him and HR. The conference went as expected. They didn't realize it had occurred in a room with surveillance. They have a zero-tolerance policy that they have to enforce, as you can't be too careful in this day and age. They regret that this didn't come to light sooner. They've already replaced me, and as it wouldn't be fair to terminate my replacement as she's done nothing wrong, they don't have a job to offer me back. However, as a gesture of goodwill, they're going to pay me through my suspension, change my file so it reads that I voluntarily resigned, and provide me a good reference. I replied that wasn't acceptable. They made an accusation against me, withheld vital information that I could have easily refuted, refused to take my calls, and completely failed in their own investigation by not checking video footage that would have immediately exonerated me. They asked what I thought would be fair. I told them they could immediately terminate the employee who made the accusation, and either give me my job back or pay me out 1 year's salary in addition to what was offered. My boss said that he could not discuss another employee with me, and that neither of those options are feasible. The only options I have are what he already offered. I replied that the options I gave are the only way I am not going to sue the company along with the employee. My boss replied that I signed an agreement when I was first hired, saying I would take all disputes through arbitration, and that I waived my right to sue the company. I do not remember signing the agreement, and I have not seen it, but it apparently says that I will take all disputes to arbitration, I will bear the costs of arbitration, and that I will accept the decision in arbitration. He stated that I will not fare any better in arbitration than he's already offered, and I'll be out the money to cover the arbitration. I feel like I'm being bullied here and don't think he would have scheduled a phone conference with such immediacy if he didn't think the company was vulnerable to a lawsuit. I'm waiting on a callback from a few employment attorneys. Do I have a case? Am I wrong to feel that this is unacceptable? Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Don't take legal advice from your opponent. Of course you can sue. The feasibility of winning that suit is best discussed with your attorney. That's why I came here. They certainly don't have my best interests in mind. Get a lawyer and have him subpoena that video before it gets lost. I have the whole conference on tape. My boss admitted that the tape proves the accusation was unfounded, and had they seen it earlier, they could have offered me my job back. Have your IT friend make a copy of that video for you in case the original happens to get lost. And make sure you have a legally obtained copy. Any legal action you take against the company and or the false complainant will need this. As for the video, yes, I do need a legal copy. The IT guy has a backup on his laptop, so if it gets lost, he'll be able to produce it. Of course they say you can't sue because they know they messed up. You absolutely can sue. That's what I thought. I'm just so frustrated and felt like it was such a slap in the face what they offered. Now for the first update. Quite a bit has happened in the last few weeks. A friend of mine at another company, after hearing what happened, told me his company had an opening. I applied, interviewed, and at the end the manager asked me what I like to be called. 2 days later I got a call saying they'd gone with another candidate. My friend admitted to me that he'd gotten some flack for recommending me. Apparently HR had worked with one of the employees at my former company and called the employee to ask what the deal was with me. To which the employee responded, he got fired for being inappropriate with a subordinate. I think he's actually being charged criminally. I'm literally crying as I type this. It's a nightmare that won't end. Long story short, I lost it, called up my old company, boss wouldn't get on the phone with me, had an attorney draft a letter of demand and send it off, had another phone conference scheduled. They once again regret that an employee provided a reference outside of the prescribed channels. The employee was coached on the proper way to handle such requests. My attorney informed them that in addition to wrongful termination, we would be adding defamation to our complaint against them. They insist that they have not broken any laws and that they cannot control the actions of an individual employee who went against company policy. So we're at an impasse there. Either I move ahead against them or I walk away. At this point, I'm ready to drag this through court. I tried to take the high road and go elsewhere, but they're regretting a lot that they've done to me without any action to correct it. Oh, I almost forgot. A few days after my last post, they sent me a packet of papers, standard non-disclosure notifications, COBRA, and a blank copy of the arbitration agreement for me to sign. Why a blank one, you ask? Well, it seems somebody messed up. They weren't making people sign when I was hired, and HR never bothered to have me sign the agreement when I worked there. I of course have signed nothing that they sent me, including that agreement. I considered allowing arbitration if they pay the costs, and I have approval over who is selected, but my attorney has advised not to do that. I wish I had better news to report. Things aren't as hopeless as they'd first seemed, but not as easily fixable either. As for the employee who made the accusation, I know you're eager to hear, but at this point I can't comment on what's happening there. Thanks for all of the advice and support so far. I promise to update when everything resolves, if not sooner, as much as I can. Now for the final update. Everything has resolved, and I've been wanting to give you guys an update, but had to wait until my lawyer gave me the okay to talk about things. So let's start from the beginning. I pulled one of my direct reports, Deborah, into another room to discuss a few mistakes she made, but did not discipline her further. After this, she went to Joyce, one of the managers above me but not in my direct line of report, equal to my boss in terms of reporting structure. When Joyce heard that I had taken Deborah into another room without any witnesses, she said to her that it was unprofessional. Apparently her exact words were, you could accuse him of being inappropriate with you, and I would have no choice but to believe you. This was repeated several times, with a strong emphasis on no choice. Joyce then asked Deborah if I had been inappropriate with her, saying, "It will only happen again if you don't speak up now. If you do now, we can take action." Taking the not at all subtle hint from Joyce, Deborah accused me of exposing myself to her, and I was placed on leave, pending an investigation. Joyce immediately sent out an email that nobody besides the secretary was to speak with me without an attorney present, and told the IT guy, Paul, to deactivate my access. James, my boss, had a resume from Terry, an employee in Joyce's department, applying for my job before close of business that day, and she was hired. Paul and I talked. He provided me with video proving my innocence. The company continued to stonewall me and refused to talk to me. When they did, they attempted to push me into arbitration and to retroactively sign an arbitration agreement. I cut my losses, took another job, and was ready to move on. Sandy, an employee in Joyce's department, broke protocol, talked to HR at the new company, and told them I had been inappropriate with a subordinate and cost me the job. So that brings us up to date. My attorney and I launched a civil suit against the company and Deborah. Bet you're wondering how I know the above. Well, good old Joyce said she'd protect Deborah if she came forward. Unfortunately, that only extended to her job. So, when she was named individually in this suit, corporate told her they would not be providing her an attorney. After realizing that she'd be putting her house up for collateral, she was all too willing to throw Joyce under the bus. Joyce went to Paul, the IT guy, who was one of her reports, and gave him a list of footage to be procedurally wiped as part of an archive clear-out. He pointed out that the incident with me was on that list, and part of an ongoing investigation. Joyce told him that it was no longer needed and to go ahead and wipe it. He refused, citing the fact that it would still be requested in the event that the suit moved forward. She told him to pack his things as he was being terminated for insubordination. He called the company attorney and informed her what had happened. The aftermath. Several things happened at once, so I'll try to keep them as chronological as I can. Deborah's attorney contacted mine, stating that, conditional on me dropping the suit, she would admit that she lied and explain what went on behind the scenes. Dana, the company attorney, got the call from my attorney with the details from Deborah shortly after she finished talking with Paul about him being terminated for refusing to destroy evidence. Deborah and Joyce were terminated for cause that day, while Paul was told that his job was safe. My attorney received a call, and it was made clear that the company didn't want this to go any further and wanted to talk settlement. I won't go into all of the details, but what I can say, I was offered my job back with a very fair increase. I received back pay from the date of suspension, and a public apology was offered from the very top. Terry is now working in Joyce's old position. She's incredibly cool about things and felt horrified when she found out what happened. James and I are good now, and he has personally apologized for not sticking up for me. This will likely be my final update. There is still some legal battle ongoing, but I can't go into that too much. Thank you for all of your support and encouragement. You guys rock. Now for more comments. I'd use your increased salary as a stepping stone to finding a new job now. Management at your company is beyond incompetent. That HR department isn't fit to manage a food truck, much less the staffing at this company. The legal department really dropped the ball here as well. At every step of the way, they were wide open to damages and proceeded as if they got their degrees from Hollywood upstairs law school. Use your new salary to get a higher paying job at a company that isn't run by Laurel and Hardy, and do what you can on your way out to get Sandy canned. And James, screw that guy. Very likely searching for a new job in the next couple months. Also, make sure as part of the settlement they have to take steps to undo the damage caused by telling the other company about the allegations. So the big question I have, what exactly is Joyce's beef with you that she took the first opportunity to take you out? Why did she go through all of the easily verifiable channels to try and wreck your career? I mean, she tried to enlist not one, but two separate patsies in this. One of whom knew about the whole situation and knew enough to immediately get legal involved, and another who would have to risk everything to try and prove a blatant lie. That just seems like poor planning on petty revenge to me. Why did she have a grudge? My guess, power. She's an ambitious person trying to get ahead in life. Terry and I were on equal level management-wise. The only difference is that I have more direct reports, whereas she was basically an assistant manager to Joyce, handled the department when Joyce was out by herself. So, Joyce saw an opportunity to put a surrogate in another management position and get a foothold into my area. I worked in offices for years, and jerks like Joyce are why I never want to do it again. A lot of people believe that the limited power they gain in management is beyond what they actually can do, and anyone that they can't count on as one of theirs is being insubordinate on purpose, even if you're just doing your job or not agreeing to delete evidence. The only way to keep up that illusion is to put people in those positions that will let them do whatever they please, and they absolutely cannot imagine that they aren't smart enough to cover their tracks. The more you discover they've effed up, the more opportunities they have to prove just how powerful they are. I'm pretty happy that her attempt at gaining power backfired this spectacularly. To be honest, I would not want to take a job back at the place who dropped the ball so hard here. Yeah, I feel like the well is poisoned there. Oh, for sure. Even with an apology, I would never trust the leadership there. But it's also much easier to get a new job when you have a job. He also doesn't have to put a period of absence on his resume as well. Getting back pay would have been useful too, but 100% he should be looking for a new job. If nothing else, this shows how having built personal relationships with key staff can help you so much more than simply following proper procedure and or lawyering up. OP would not have done well had his friend not informed him about the surveillance footage. I'm wondering how come Sandy escaped punishment for torpedoing OP's application at the other company. It sounds like Sandy got a slap on the wrist for going outside of protocol. I do wonder if Sandy knew for sure it was a lie or was just repeating what was already obviously going around the office. I felt like Joyce was behind Sandy's actions a little bit too. I would not be surprised since same department. I guess my thought ran along the lines of whether Joyce specifically told Sandy that it was a lie and say it, or if Joyce just spread it loudly around the department and company, and Sandy, not knowing it was a lie, shared it thinking she was helping the other company. Either way, the blame lies mostly on Joyce. I'm very confused on why Deborah felt the need to lie. It seems kind of obvious Joyce wanted to push out OP to hire her friend in OP's place, but what exactly was Deborah supposed to gain from this? I'm glad OP got his job back with back pay and a substantial raise, but that company deserved to be sued into a corporate casket. If her performance is slipping, then she gets protection. She was harassed on company time, on company property by a manager, and therefore she is untouchable for a while. Plus she gets a new boss who is friends with the manager she went to, and as a result, gets protection from her manager for any shortcoming. She might have seen it as job protection while going through a divorce. Yes, I did have a female coworker who knew she was on her last chance before being fired, try to pull that on our manager. I got dragged into it as a witness. All our offices had windows, I could see right into hers, and I shared an office with the manager, so I knew it hadn't happened in hours. Then she said it happened after hours, but she'd never stayed later than I did. Stuff like that.